Hello and welcome to How to Be an Icon. I'm Jared Jones. I'm joined by Donna Cameron.
Hi, I'm back.
You're back. We're here with episode 2 of How to Be an Icon.
We've done this again.
We've done it again. We've only gone and bloody done it again.
They thought we couldn't do it.
They thought it couldn't be done. We never thought that we would make a second episode, but we have, in fact, made a second episode.
In a timely manner.
And that's the main thing. Only a few weeks between this one and the first one.
I thought we were going to say days.
Days. A couple of days between this and the first one. The
There's only been a couple of insert time.
No, years. But yeah, how are you? How you doing?
I'm doing very well. It was a lovely week all week, and now it's raining.
Yeah, it's gone really miserable today on the day that we've recorded. So that's kind of fine because we're inside not really doing anything. So it's good. So you do know who we are doing this week.
It's not a surprise this week.
It's not a surprise. It is Coco Chanel.
Now, I hear she might have some problematic friends, but I want you to dispel those rumors for me today, Jared.
Yeah, so, to how we got here to Coco Chanel wanting to do an episode on her was that last week we obviously did Walt Disney, who, I don't want this show to fall into businessmen who did weird things. So we did businesswoman who did weird things instead.
Because I'd said to you privately that we were like, I want to make sure we do a woman really quickly.
Yeah.
And you were like, beat you to it.
Yeah, got you, beat you on that one.
So there's your Pride of Britain award. Well done.
Thank you. But yeah, what do you know about Coco Chanel? What is your...
Honestly, not that much.
Okay.
Like I said, I know she might have some iffy friends.
Mm-hmm.
She invented the little black dress. And you take the last accessory you put on off.
Yeah, those are the main things that, to be honest, that when I came into this, that I knew about Coco Chanel.
And the Nicole Kidman Chanel No. 5 advert, I love to dance.
I love to dance.
Which I watched obsessively as a child.
Yeah, the most expensive ad of all time.
And it's so good.
Still is. Yeah, it is really good. I did watch it before this. Has nothing to do with this. There is no,
No, Nicole Kidman features nowhere in this story, unfortunately.
Other than just here, she does not feature in any way in the story of Coco Chanel. We're going to jump right into it. Just get to it. Coco Chanel, not born Coco Chanel.
Whoa, that's not her real name?
That is not her real name.
Is that thing where I go, well, she's French, so of course her real name would be Coco?
Yeah, I think...
Did I do that a little bit?
Yeah. No, she was born Gabrielle Bonheur Chanel on August 19th, 1883 in Saumur, Marie-et-Loire. Now, here's the thing. There's a lot of French in this.
I was about to say, the fear in your eyes there.
Man, there's so much of it. And there's going to be some German later. Spoilers for later. There may be some German that we need to speak a little bit of. But yeah, there's a lot of French and there's a lot of names and a lot of places that I don't know.
Did she visit Germany?
She didn't need to visit Germany. Germany visited her. But again, we're getting ahead of ourselves a little bit. But born in France. We'll go with that.
Yep.
Her mother was, now I'm going to say Eugenie Jean Duval Chanel. Who was a laundrywoman for a poorhouse, and her dad, Albert Chanel. He was a clothes vendor. Mm-hmm. He mainly sold undergarments, and he would travel around from town to town. He was on the road selling for most of...
Oh, okay, but she grew up around clothes. I was going to say...
Yeah, she grew up around clothes.
Unlike the rest of us who did not. But, close enough to, garment...
Yes, yeah. There is garment stuff as she's growing up. But her mother died at the age of 32 when Gabrielle was just 11 years old.
Oh.
So, her father sent his 2 boys to work as farm laborers and sent his 3 daughters to a religious convent. So
I bet that was so much fun because I hear religious convents, especially at that time in France, super chill. I bet there was loads of lawn games. I bet there was karaoke. I bet they got a dance instructor in on a Thursday.
Well, this may surprise you. It was not that. It was very, very hard, actually.
What?
Yeah, she grew up very poor, no money. It was very strict. But it did contribute to her later career.
Okay.
Because that was where she learned to sew.
Ah, yeah, I guess you would learn to sew in a convent.
Yeah, so that's where that came from. And this is where we start to see a fun trend with Coco Chanel,
Okay.
where she just lies about things. It's this really fun habit where she just makes stuff up.
Would you say she embellishes the truth, or are these like outright lies?
Well, later in life, she would claim that her childhood was different. She would include a lot more sort of glamorous details that were, not true. She said that her mother died when she was way younger, and that her father set sail to America to seek his fortune, and she was sent to live with her two aunts, which were not true. She also claimed to be born a decade later than she was.
That makes her younger?
Yes, she claimed she was born in 1883. She claimed to be born in 1893. So a whole 10 years. Yeah.
Now, have you looked at photos of her? Do you think she could reasonably claim to be 10 years younger than she actually is?
So a lot of people would say of Coco Chanel that she had quite a young appearance throughout, that she didn't really age that. She aged quite well, sort of thing. So I don't think it was completely unbelievable that was the case. But like, she was quite small, quite a small frame, which would actually influence her clothing that she designed later.
That would make sense. A lot of Chanel stuff is incredibly like petite and
and it was kind of more. She designed it more to fit her because there wasn't that many clothes that she claims at the time that fit her very well. So that's why a lot of the clothes are the way that they are.
I like how many times you've already used the word claim.
The word claim is going to come up a lot.
Quite a lot. Okay. No, just let's keep track of him.
Yeah. So she leaves the convent at age 18 and she moves to a Catholic girls' boarding school. Again, a very fun environment, I'm sure.
Again, there's going to be no like really intense like doctrine.
No.
Nothing that's going to like really like scar you for the rest of your life and inform a lot of your like decisions and thoughts later on.
No, definitely not.
No. Okay.
But she became a seamstress. She also became a singer and entertainer. She performed at Cafe Concert, which is a very popular venue. No, most of the sources that I read claimed that she was actually a pretty bad singer. She wasn't very good at singing. There are a lot of them. Some were more generous than others. Some would say she was a good entertainer, but a bad singer. And others would say that she was a bad singer and a bad entertainer.
I mean, what's funnier than watching a woman sing poorly on stage?
But no, it is notable because this is where Gabrielle got the name Coco from.
Right, okay.
It is believed that it's from the song Who Has Seen Coco, which she used to sing often, apparently. But Coco would claim that the name came from her father as a nickname. However, this claim is dubious, as while not proven untrue, her and her father were not exactly close. And there's no record of it before this sort of time of her being. She goes by Gabriel for quite a long time.
Oh, interesting. So do you know, I'm sorry if we're jumping ahead here.
Yeah.
Do you know when she made that switch? Do you know when she decided to be like
No,
full-time Coco?
Not completely, no. Because it was like when she was a designer, she was still Gabrielle Chanel. And then at some point it became Coco.
My other question would be, and again, I don't know if you know, how popular is Coco as a name?
Do you know what? I think more popular now from her, but I don't know beforehand. I couldn't say. So we're getting to the beginning of her fashion empire. She has, become a seamstress. She's moved on. In 1910, the early 1910s, in her early 20s, she opens her first store in Paris. She is involved with Etre Belzan.
Well done.
Again, I could be completely wrong on this.
Did you do GCSE French?
Oui.
No, I am teasing you, but I would not have done one with French names in it because
I was really optimistic. I didn't think there'd be that many, and then I think that's quite stupid of me to.
That you're like, everyone's gonna be called like Dave, and like Timmy,
and Etre, she's sort of with him a little bit. She's in a bit of a relationship with him.
Okay.
But she ditches him pretty soon for one of his wealthy friends, Arthur Boy Capel, who really was the one who started sort of the business with her. She started out making hats. She opened stores in Duval, France, and Biarritz, France, and she starts to then make clothes. Deauville, France is very important because it's a very hip and happening place.
Okay.
Imagine sort of like Brighton type sort of thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. It's very like
that's-
young. It's very like cool, and it's like a little alternative, I guess.
Yeah, it's where a lot of the like kind of cool people of France are going, especially as we're heading into World War One. A lot of people, you don't want to be in Paris. It's not.
Oh no, Paris might be bad.
Yeah, so it's not the place that you want to be.
I hear they're running out of food.
It's it's not great. So a lot of people are going to Deauville, France. The story goes that it's a chilly day in Deauville, and Chanel has a bunch of this old jersey fabric knocking around. So she decides, with her seamstress skills, to knock up a dress. And all of a sudden, everyone looks at that and is like, looks pretty cool to me.
Wow, that's...
I could be doing with one of them. And that was the start of her big designer career. She was quoted as saying, "My fortune was built on that old jersey that I'd put it on because it was a cold day in Deauville." So she claims that the first dress that she made out of jersey, and most designers of the time were using like jersey fabric for undergarments.
Yeah. I know what you mean. That like sort of jersey's like a t-shirty fabric.
Yeah, it's more of kind of like a looser fabric.
Yeah.
You know, you got to be thinking sort of like in the early sort of turn of the century. It's a bit more.
We're using a lot of wools.
Yeah, we're using a lot of wools. We're using a lot more kind of like less
like
sort of
tweeds and things like that, like sturdy fabric. Yeah. So this is quite like loose, quite maybe even a little flirty.
Yeah, she designed more of a casual dress rather than the more formal dresses and corset style. She's made this very casual dress, and she is saying that she is like completely huge shift in fashion because of what she's done with this dress. But in reality...
So she's not Regina George.
She is not Regina George, no. Not everyone is going, "Oh my gosh, this jersey dress? That's crazy.
This thing you just made?
This thing that you just made? Oh my God." It's crazy that you've just made this. Like, wow, that is so incredible. Turns out that the early, like, pre-war 1910s, there is already a huge shift in fashion happening. Moving more towards the casual jersey knit material. You know. So yeah, she's like claiming that she's really part of this big movement towards that, but actually it was already a shift that was kind of happening.
Yeah, she's doing like a lot of, guys, have you heard of X?
Have you heard of jersey knit? Have you heard of it?
And everyone's like wearing a jersey knit, being like, yeah.
Well, this is where we get the big one.
Okay.
The LBD. The little black dress.
Yes.
So, black was considered to be, you know, quite a dark. You'd wear it for funerals.
I was gonna say it's a mourning color.
It's a mourning color. You know, no one is wearing black.
No one willingly, because I guess at this time as well, you still have like a little bit of like mourning protocols and stuff like that you'd have to dress a certain way. So, like, if you don't have to wear it, you're probably not gonna wear it.
Yeah. Chanel would say, "I impose black. It's still going strong today. For black wipes everything else out around it." Except that's not true. Black, while it was a color that was worn for mourning, it functions very similarly to how it does today. It's a versatile color that's classy. That
people use it
all the time. If you want to wear something that's a bit more timeless, something that is kind of a bit clearer, black is the thing that you would wear.
Because I guess a lot of men's fashion would have a lot of black, and like black suits are a real staple of...
Yeah, like I say, it's elegant. It doesn't really go out as much. It's something that you can buy and it will stay in fashion for longer. As for the term little black dress, it can be found as early as the 1910s. It was not shocking for people in the early 20s to be wearing like a little black dress. The little dress was also its own thing. It was already a style of dress, was already referred to as little dress. It did become more popular in the 20s, and Chanel's dress was referred to in an issue of Vogue from 1926 as the Chanel Ford, in reference to the Ford Motor Company. But that was an article talking about French fashion overall. it referred to many designers.
Yeah.
And Chanel wasn't even mentioned until the 11th page of the article. So
Well, that's a long article.
that's a very long article. It was like, because it was like showing off different,
Yeah.
different dresses and stuff. Her dress is pictured in it, but it's right at the end of this article.
And it features kind of a broader scope of French fashion.
Yeah.
Second episode, by the way, in a row that we've mentioned Henry Ford.
Yes.
He's going to keep coming up.
He's going to keep coming up. But yeah, that was referring to the fact of the Model T. Obviously, it was the most popular motor vehicle of the time. And of course, it was black. So that's where that came from.
Interesting.
But no, Chanel did not invent or popularize the LBD.
Well, that's quite astounding because that's, like I said, the only thing I really know about her.
That's the first thing that people say about. But yeah, in the 20s, no, she did not invent the little black dress. So yeah,
so she lied.
She did.
Oh,
I know. But we also get a couple of other staples around here.
Mm-hmm.
We get the classic Chanel suit,
which are gorgeous.
The uniform. It did become popular, but it wasn't super popular off the bat. It became popular much later on.
I was going to say, I think you see it a lot later on in like 60s fashion, especially when you start getting into things like that. But
yeah, you're getting a lot of that in the 1950s. So we also get the classic Chanel number 5. So it's around the 1920s. Mm-hmm. Now get this, right? She's introduced and starts dating Grand Duke Dmitry Petrov Romanov, who is in exile from Russia.
I was gonna say that's a name that like carries a little bit of weight.
Yes.
I hear it ends really well for that family.
Yeah, well, he's in exile, so he is out of there.
He's good. He's fine. What a person to meet.
What a person to meet and start dating. That she dates a lot of people. There are many.
Does she date a lot of like aristocrats and?
She may do. There may be some royalty that comes up and
is she doing a little bit of dating up?
She is doing a lot of dating anyone that will get her where she needs to get.
Yes, the Ava Peron approach, I believe. It's called.
But yeah, so she's with Dmitry,
mm-hmm.
and he introduces her to Ernest Beau, who was the perfumer for the former Tsar.
Just solely, what's your favorite smell? Like, what do you talk to the perfumer of the former Tsar about?
I think that I would, if I was going to meet, like, let's say the Queen's perfumer, and I imagine the Queen probably wore, like, I don't know.
Oh, she likes the ones you get in Superdrug. The ones that come in like a denim tin jeans.
Oh, yeah. She likes Diesel.
Yeah, she loves Diesel and the Links for Women.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like if I met the Queen's perfumer, I would be like, how to be an icon, the perfume, eau de toilette. Like, we got to be getting in this merch stuff. Like, this is the thing that this whole show is us trying to find out how to be an icon. And what I'm learning is that if you meet someone who makes perfume,
you make a perfume.
Make a perfume, because it did very well for Chanel.
Let us know what you think this show smells like. Email us in.
It smells like coffee and liquid death. Mango specifically. The mango liquid death. But yeah, she collaborated with him to create a scent that was more natural, more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
And they sourced a lot of like natural scents, which at the time the market was more into like sort of synthetic scents. So this was quite.
I guess because a lot of them were being developed and stuff, and it's that like new and exciting.
The recipe and method hasn't changed since the invention in 1921. It is still made exactly the same with the exact same ingredients. Yeah. For Chanel number 5. It's believed to be called Chanel number 5 because it was Chanel's favorite number, but no one actually knows. There is no...
Yeah. Do you think it's one of those things that you go, oh, it just sounds good and we have to put a name on, we have to like give it a reason later?
Yeah, maybe. I think that could definitely be the case.
Because there's definitely like, if you run through it, and it's like we discussed about Mickey Mouse and changing his name. Obviously it's Chanel number 5. It's always been that. It's the marketing thing, but you go Chanel number 2.
Yeah, I think it's the thing of like, with Heinz, where it's like Heinz 57.
That's something about that number like registers in our brain in a satisfying way that we go, well, yeah, obviously.
But it doesn't mean anything. Like, there was not 57 products that they did. They had way more than that from pretty much day one. So it wasn't like they just sort of
it's just this kind of arbitrary number, yeah.
They just made it up. So, and it just sounded good. So that's what they went with. But yeah, it becomes successful and it marketed it very well.
Mm-hmm.
So what they did was that they would pump the smell into the stores, kind of like they do with like Hollister and Abercrombie and Fitch now. They would.
I like that that's the example you used, and I went, oh, like a supermarket with bread.
Like a supermarket with bread, yeah, that's exactly that kind of thing. So
that you get that immediate like hit of it.
Yeah, and she would get what I guess was the equivalent of 1920s influencers to wear the scent. So it wasn't like mass marketed out there. It was kind of put on like individuals and stuff. They were given free samples. They would wear it. People would be like, "Oh,
what's
really
this?"
Good. Yeah, what's this? And then they'd walk into Chanel.
So smart.
She ended up selling part of the business in 1924 to the Huimier brothers, Paul and Pierre. She managed to keep 10% of the profits of all sales of the perfume going forward.
Very smart.
Very, very smart. So
you always take percentages of the profits.
That's it.
If we've learned anything.
So we have now hit 1930. We've had some big successes. Again, the LBD, while she did not invent it, it was very popular. It was a very popular dress.
Yeah.
Same with the suits. Now she's got the fragrance. It's all good. Then we hit the 30s. It's kind of the original flop era because this is where it's not, it's been a great decade for Chanel. She's been one of the most successful designers of the decade. The 30s hits and the designs are not hitting. That they are not. They are not serving.
They were kind of embarrassing.
They're quite basic. They're not really popping off. There are other designers making cooler, more interesting stuff. And then we get a little thing called industrial action.
Uh-oh.
Yeah. So there's strike action in Paris. It's happening all across Paris. It's not just the Chanel workers. In 1936, her staff went on strike. Basically what they want is they want shorter hours, holiday pay, and higher wages.
All very reasonable things.
So reasonable. Like, so very, very reasonable.
On the Walt Disney scale of handling a strike poorly, how does Coco deal with it?
It's a great question because she decides to fire all 300 of her staff.
And I guess the rules weren't in place to stop that from happening at that point, so...
and she goes to the newspaper and complains about her workers being like, get lost. Like, why would I be bothered with you? You're just, I don't need you.
You're wasting my time.
You're wasting my time. It's not a great look, especially in France,
I was going to say...
Industrial action in France, they go hand in hand together.
They are like peanut butter and jelly.
Yeah.
They love a strike.
They certainly do. And people are rightfully giving her backlash. So she walks it back, she does the right thing. She steps down from Chanel. Just takes a complete step back. She is no longer in charge of the company. And she says to her staff, you can have your job back. And not only that, you can buy the company off of me. Now, obviously, the staff can't afford to do this because they're asking for more money. So it was a completely empty gesture.
On paper, you go, wow, that sounds really good.
Wow,
then you read it and go,
good.
Wait a minute. Wait, I think we've been bamboozled.
So she
And she also goes, and it's also not my problem anymore because I'm not in charge of the company.
I'm not in charge. Oh, you can't afford it? Oh, are you little broke babies?
Oh, you think you're so smart trying to unionize?
Oh, can you not afford to buy the company? Well, I guess I'm going to have to buy it off of you then, you silly billies. So, yeah.
I am going to say that is a better handling of it than driving a car at a group of people.
I think the thought crossed her mind. Like, I don't think it was as
Do you know
like...
What boss, when they look at their striking workers, hasn't thought, I'm going to drive my car into them?
It's a good...
And again, I think we're going to see this a few more times before the show finishes.
Yeah. So she tries to save face. It doesn't really work.
Oh, did people not fall for that?
No,
clearly?
people did not. People didn't fall for that.
Very, very quickly, you did something similar to this while we were playing Monopoly with someone.
Yes, I did.
Where you just set them up
Well,
in such a way.
So I was losing, and I mortgaged all of my properties, and then I sold all the mortgaged properties to the other player, and they didn't realize that they had to then unmortgage the properties.
So they just got all of these houses for dirt cheap, and then wait, what do you mean I'm millions in debt? And you went, peace out, nerd.
Yeah.
It has a lot of that energy to it.
Yeah, it really does. No, I think that's fair. So this hasn't worked. So she gives the staff what they want, gives them their jobs back. She's feeling a bit butthurt by this, though, as you imagine you probably would.
Yeah, she is sat there smoking a cigarette and as angry as a human being can possibly be.
And then World War II happens.
Oh boy!
And we take things in a very different direction.
Does she stay under the radar and just kind of like make some bags and hats and...
Not quite. So for this subheading, I've written little black dress, more like little brown shirts.
It's important to know he is so proud of it.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of that one. So we hit 1939 and Chanel immediately ceases all production, closes all the stores. She lets all of her employees go. It's suggested, and this may be crazy, but it's suggested that she may have done this to get back at the people who were striking originally.
What?
Because she didn't actually need to close everything down so quickly.
I was going to say that's what people really want at the breakout of a war, to lose their job.
Yeah, no.
You know all that stability you had. Well, now it's gone.
No, her staff were like, please keep it open. And she's like, oh my God, what? I just closed it.
I'm actually like really overwhelmed by this whole like war thing. So you're all fired. Bye. She's girl bossing.
She's really girl bossing here. She's also making it known that she doesn't like Jewish people. She's really starting to say some things. Uh-oh. Yeah. Now, there may be a reason for this, though. So you remember our good little boys, the Weithmere brothers, or the Weimere brothers?
Yeah.
Well, they were Jewish, and they were still running the running the perfume side of her business. Chanel was still receiving 10% of sales. However, she thought that maybe she could get all of the money because... Obviously, you know, when the Nazis came in, they would seize all Jewish-owned businesses, properties, and enterprise. So Chanel thought that she could get the full control back of the business by sort of using, with the Nazi occupation, that she could do that.
Wow. That's incredible that you hear about the breakout of World War II and go, finally I can get the rest of my business back.
This 10% is not enough.
I want the other 90%.
Yeah.
Wow. Coco Chanel might be a...
Maybe. This could be...
I'm willing to be proven wrong. However,
it's not looking great so far.
She posts a lot of like toxic positivity like quotes on her Instagram.
No, I think she just posts a lot of toxicity on her Instagram. I don't think there's no positivity there. It's just hatred, I think, is the main thing.
No, fair enough.
But the brothers are quite smart. They sense that, you know, the way the tides are turning, that the Nazis are coming in.
Yeah, so and they can see what...
Yeah, they know what's happening. So they end up coming up with a deal and selling the business to a man called Felix Amoit. He's a Christian French businessman and industrialist. It's not really a sale. It's more of a just kind of like... Can
you just have this?
Yeah,
we just need to like leave this hole.
Now, they're not exactly cleaning this because they did not tell Chanel this. And then they did start operations in Spain and America without telling Chanel. So Chanel didn't know any of this.
Okay. But then I guess if you know what your boss is doing... You go.
Yeah. I'm not defending it, but I am like.
But no one's doing great here.
Yeah, it's like, you know, she's very aware of the changing tides. She's trying to get the money. She's trying to get this corporation back, and then she finds out, oh, not only do they not own it anymore, but they've started business in another country
Without me.
and they've not even informed me. So she was pretty furious about this.
Would you say like ticked off?
Yeah, no. Around this sort of time, she is described as a vicious anti-Semite. And she is
You
wholly
never want to be described as a vicious anti-Semite, because that's not even like oh, you know, when you like bring it up, they've got some weird views. It's like, no, she's bringing it up.
Yeah, she's been dating a lot of very, very conservative men.
Mm-hmm.
And she has been kind of described as very unpleasant to be around at this sort of time. While in a dinner party with friends, she said things that were so shocking that her friends had to stop speaking to her.
And you know that's bad. You know, like when we've all done it. We've all said a thing and had a group of people go, I don't want to associate with them anymore.
Yeah, this is like really on the extreme end of that. It has been quoted as saying that she was saying about Jewish people, they must be exterminated altogether. So
I just made my example was like just making a joke that no one laughed at.
Yeah, no.
I've never called for the extermination of anything, let alone a race of people.
Yeah, and even people who were agreeing with her were
whoa.
Like people who are on
We're
her
having
side of
dinner.
Yeah, are being a bit like, okay, let's walk this back a little bit.
Coco, we're having a salad.
Yeah.
Like, what is that? I didn't know if you planned to bring this up later, but we did look up earlier what her favorite drink was.
Yes. Do you remember what it was?
It was, I don't remember the exact name, but it's a red wine, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a red wine. Let me look at the actual...
red wine-fueled vicious anti-Semite is not, like, kind of the person I want to have dinner with.
Yeah, okay, so again, this is Jared doesn't know French, but her favorite wine was a Chateauneuf de Papi, which is a red wine that she would have with caviar. Fish and red wine. That's disgusting.
That's disgusting. Because you said it and I went, oh, surely it's a white wine. And you went, no.
No, that's a red wine.
And I bet it's like treacle thick. I bet it's the one that like sticks to your teeth, sort of.
Having that, that's going to give you some heartburn. Like,
you're drinking that and screaming about
anti-Semitism. And
I also would be like, whoa, I can't hang out with her anymore. This is awful.
Yeah, it really is like, oh God, yeah. But during this time, she has moved into the Hotel Ritz. Very fancy hotel. Very, very nice. It is also the headquarters of the German military. That's where they're doing most of their military planning. That is where most of the head generals are living. So, yeah, this is where a lot of the French and other European countries are kind of like falling out with Coco Chanel, the person.
Mm-hmm.
And also the dispute with the perfume manufacturer, it's very public now.
Okay, so everyone's reading about it and going, this doesn't make you look very good, and you've just moved into the Nazi hotel.
Yeah.
Like willingly? Was that like a conscious choice?
Yes. Because while in the Hotel Ritz, she fell in love with a German... Sorry. This man has the most German name possible.
You were getting me to guess this early, and I'm so excited to hear it.
Baron Hans Gunther von Dinklage.
No, that's the little fat boy from The Simpsons.
Uta ja. Or Baron Hans Gunther von Dinklage.
The delight as you said it, you're so like, ooh.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the only way you can read that, because that's so German.
That's an incredible name. That's great.
And she becomes a German spy and informant for the Nazi Party. Allegedly. We're gonna write the word allegedly down on this, even though it's very much proven.
She
definitely did. But some people argue that she didn't. Some people said that she was not. Mostly people who work for Chanel. But it's...
What?
Yeah.
The company has a vested interest to not claim that its founder was a German spy?
Yeah.
In France during World War II.
Yeah, she's very deep in the source of the Nazi Party. She is involved with Operation Modelhut, which translates to model hat.
I was going to say model house.
No, model hat, which is a very in-depth and complicated plan that I'm just going to really simplify down.
Okay.
She was going to be sent to Spain to leverage her connections that she had with the royal family. She had previously been in a relationship with the Duke of Westminster, which like
Who has she not been in a relationship with?
She has been banging a lot of dudes. She has been knocking about with a lot of guys, which led her to meeting and befriending Winston Churchill. And the idea was to bring Churchill and the British ambassador and to Spain to initiate political negotiations with the British. Like I say, there's a lot more to it than that. I don't know if you remember this. Do you remember, and this is going to seem like a bit of a tangent, do you remember Coney 2012?
Yes. I had a poster of it because I was in university when it happened, and me and a friend were going to go do that, and then we went and got drunk instead.
That sounds about
As
right.
most people did.
Yeah. Well, there was a plan by the UN to lure out Joseph Kony, and it was to invite him to dinner with Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie.
I remember this. He goes, "Yeah, I'd love to do that."
Yeah, and basically that was not their original sample because they tried it before with the Nazis and Coco Chanel with Winston Churchill, was to basically try and lure him out. So
did that plan work? Did she meet Churchill?
It did not work, no.
Because I don't know a lot about Churchill, but I know trying to get him to do anything was kind of like trying to corral a drunk pig into a car.
It was seen as a very unconventional scheme. It was like apparently the general who came up with it was known for these wacky schemes.
And Coco just felt like so important that whole time.
So yeah, it's very deep in the weeds. People do not like Chanel. We get to the end of the war, and despite being a massive Nazi agent and advocate, she is questioned but not convicted of any collaboration or war crimes. The official reason given is that there wasn't enough documentation to prove anything.
Other than like the past 5 years and everything she's ever done or said.
Yeah, well, there is that, but there's also that good old friend Winston Churchill. It is believed that her friendship with Churchill might have almost definitely...
As he's there in his little black dress, drinking his 8th glass of whiskey of the morning, going, "It is slimming."
Yeah. She also then comes to, with the Weimares, they renegotiate the 1924 contract. She received wartime profits from the sale of Chanel No. 5, equivalent to $12 million. And that was in a 2022 evaluation. Her future share of Chanel No. 5 would be 2%, but this would be worldwide as opposed to just France and Europe, which was a projected gross of $34 million as of 2022, making her the richest woman in the world at the time of the contract, reportedly. In addition to this, Pierre Waimea agreed to Chanel's stipulation that he would pay for all of Chanel's living expenses and travel expenses for the rest of her life.
What? What lawyer do you need to finagle that?
That you pay for everything for the rest of my life.
Yeah. You fund my existence. Suck on it.
Not only that, she's getting back payment and 2% of.
She's also the richest woman in the world.
And she's the richest woman in the world at this point.
Sorry, did you say richest woman or richest person?
Richest woman.
Oh, okay.
Richest woman in the world. Yeah.
Because I mean that's still like wildly impressive. Like that's not a number to be sniffed at.
No, absolutely not. Like my lord.
On the one hand, I'm like disgusted because everything you've told me about Chanel, I go, you are a vile individual. And on the other hand, I'm slightly impressed.
I'm impressed. I won't lie.
There's a level of being like the goal of it.
But now we have to, history, it's full of many sides, what if she wasn't a Nazi?
Whoa.
The obligatory, is she a Nazi? She is. But in 2023, a purported membership card of the French resistance belonging to Chanel was discovered in the French National Archives. This was
I bet that's really useful for if you're a Nazi to own one of those.
It was from the Eric network. It is, however, widely disputed because the card membership was issued in 1957, and there is absolutely no supporting evidence or witnesses on file that she's ever been part of the resistance, and that the Eric organization primarily operated in the Balkans, nowhere near where Chanel lived. So it is most likely.
It's like you found this membership card and you scrubbed the name out and wrote your name.
Yes, that's kind
to
of
go. See, not a Nazi.
See, yeah.
And everyone goes, but like, we can see that you are.
Some people said as well that she was feeding back things to the British. There is a bit of argument of like, well, why was she a Nazi? Like, did she wholeheartedly believe in the ideology, or was it something else? She was a massive Anglophile. She loved the UK. She also loved France as well.
Interesting.
So a lot of people theorize that maybe it was more for personal gain. You know, she saw the laws being introduced about, you know, Jewish business ownership, and she wanted to take back the full, you know, perfume company. So there is theories on that of how much did she actually believe in it. I would argue, though, my point would be, I don't think it really matters.
I have to agree with you. And we're going to put the official stance on this show. Yeah. I don't care what your motivation is to becoming a Nazi. Don't.
Yeah, if you're like living...
Oh, I'm doing it for financial gain. You go, that's somehow actually even worse.
You're like...
Is that worse? I don't know.
You're living in the same place as all the Nazi generals. I don't think that's just a coincidence. I don't think you're just like, oh, well, I want to get a little bit more money. Like, I want to get my bag. Like, I think you got to believe in it.
You can do that without living with them or dating them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
You can also do that without ruining all of your friendships by going on anti-Semitic rants
at dinner parties. Yeah, that's also true. We're now in post-war. And
she's like, what are you talking about?
You know, she goes, guys, I'm moving to Switzerland. No real reason. I'm just going to go there. It's not because being a Nazi sympathizer in post-war France is really not the one.
No, I hear that ends really badly for a lot of people.
Well, it doesn't end badly if you're not there. So she stays there for a good few years, but she makes her big return in 1953 with her worldwide launch. She's going back to her roots. She's back into design. She's still been selling Chanel No. 5 at this point. That's still been sold throughout. So she's still been making.
Did the Second World War affect the sales of that at all? Because
in France it did. But because it had gone worldwide, it was seen very, very positively in America.
I was going to say, I know it was huge at that time because I know people like Marilyn Monroe would wear it and things like that. Like, they didn't need to advertise it for decades because of the...
Yeah, so she comes back, like I say, in 1953, the big relaunch, and she's coming back with designs that are very similar to what she had in 1920. It's very, very similar sort of stuff.
That really, classic... Yeah.
And this is where the lies start to come in about how revolutionary and how forward-thinking Chanel was. A lot of the claims are being massively exaggerated, especially in America. So it's not just the little black dress. She wasn't just one of them. She invented that. You know, it's a lot of that sort of stuff is where the sort of mythology of Coco Chanel starts to come from.
And I guess it's smart because a lot of the criticism of her would be in French.
And this is the other thing. No one could dispute her because a lot of the designers from the time were no longer designing.
Yeah.
Most of them were dead. for one reason or another.
So you have a bunch of people who are not in the picture anymore. You have a bunch of criticism that is now in another language on the other side of the planet.
And we don't have Twitter to be like making a thread and being like, here are the 7 lies that Coco Chanel told. We don't have any of that. We just have to take it at face value at what it is and what she's saying. So she comes back with these designs, like I say, in 1953.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't hit massively.
Okay.
In Europe. In America, they hit huge.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where like the classic sort of Chanel comes in. Now, a lot of people argue that French tastes were just kind of, they were wanting a bit more. And they also didn't like Chanel. And that Americans didn't know anything about Chanel and loved basic kind of designs and prints and things like that.
Okay.
This is a bit of conjecture on my part. I think while that is not completely untrue, I think the other aspect of this, because going forward into the 50s and 60s, Chanel stuff really does pick up in popularity.
Yeah.
I think another thing of it is that she hit the 20/40 year cycle.
I was just thinking this.
Yeah. So if you don't know what the 20 to 40 year cycle is, it is where every 20 years we kind of like reintroduce things that were popular back then. So, and it's also, it always comes in like 20-year blocks. So 20 year, 40 year. So at the minute, we've got a lot of late 90s, early 2000s fashion is popping back up. And the other big thing that's popping back up is 80s nostalgia, which is sort of 40 years. So
we're hitting both of them exactly at the same time.
Yeah. And I think Chanel kind of really hit that at that point. She was coming up with a lot of what were considered like classic design, classic European designs. And obviously Europe has a completely different connotation in America than it does in Europe.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's seen as like a bit more glamorous.
You also have that like post-war, like the financial boom. You have like this growing middle class in America of that, like looking at that like really classic, clean sort of design at the time as well.
Yeah.
So a lot of that comes in as well. Interesting.
Yeah. So
because you get to go, it's from France.
Yeah, exactly. You get a lot of that. And she basically keeps designing until she dies. She dies 10th of January, 1971 in the Hotel Ritz. She'd spent 30 years there.
Wow.
I'm
always fascinated by these people who just live in hotels.
I thought of this. Like, I would hate that. But then again, get your bed made every day.
I was going to say, you're not Coco Chanel, so you're not, it's not living out of a travel lodge. You are living in the Ritz.
I was going to say, though, did she get like the little sachet of Nescafe and like a little kettle?
At what point do they stop giving you the packets of little biscuits?
Yeah, they're like, no, you don't need one, Chanel. Like, you're here every
Look,
day.
I'm going to take one off the trolley when I walk past anyway, so try and stop me. Madam, we're not filling up your shampoo because you just keep saying absolutely unacceptable things to all of the staff.
Yeah, and also, you're not paying for it.
No, you've tricked this other man to do it through legal wiliness.
When she died, the First Lady of France organized a massive funeral tribute to pay homage to Coco Chanel. The French intelligence agencies then released a bunch of damaging documents that outlined Chanel's wartime involvement and quickly ended the monumental funeral plans.
That's rough.
Yeah.
I hope after my death, my funeral plans aren't scuppered by a bunch of damaging governmental documents.
I would hope so too.
Should we shake hands on it?
Let's not release government documents tarnishing each other's legacies.
That's my lesson for how to be an icon.
It's a good one. There's one more thing that I want to touch on. You said it at the beginning, and it is the quote: "Before you leave the house, look in the mirror and take one thing off." Coco Chanel never said that.
No. Do we know who that's attributed to?
We do not. It was not attributed
it's
to
just
her,
one of those, like... Oh, so it's Oscar Wilde, then?
But I do have an actual quote from her.
Are you allowed to say it on the show?
I'm allowed to just... It's one of her less choice quotes. Because people often, like, associate Chanel with, you know, women's fashion and being an icon of, you know, feminism and things like that. She was not about that. She said, "A woman equals envy plus vanity plus chatter plus a confused mind." And that really, I think, sums up Chanel as a person.
Just unlikable from beginning to end.
Yeah, she has such a glamorous like look that people have on her, and it really isn't.
That when you like peel that back,
when you peel
go
it
like,
back, she's actually quite unpleasant.
yeah, you haven't said a single positive thing about her throughout this show.
It's come across.
I tried to like be as fair as I could with Walt Disney, because he does do many bad things, but there is like a side of him that is a little sympathetic. I don't think I could get anything sympathetic.
I think the thing there is like
from her.
when you side so hard with the Nazis, it's hard to find like a good.
Yeah.
And I think people, weirdly as well, like you saying that, I say weirdly, not really, but there are people who are far harsher than I have been on Coco Chanel.
I believe so.
I do think, and I will say,
like that guy who had to pay for all of her living expenses.
I will say, sort of, if I was to counterbalance it a little bit, I think some of her designs and work that she did do in the 20s, I think has kind of been a little bit diluted by the Nazi conversation. I think she was still an incredibly successful and influential designer. She just wasn't as influential
as she would like you to believe that she is. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
She really did. And also as well, like Coco Chanel No. 5 is, it's marketing. Like she was very good at marketing her products.
She's very, if nothing else, is smart.
Yeah, she's very smart, but she's also very cold and calculating. She used a lot of people to get to where she got to.
She sided with the worst people in history.
She sure did.
Maybe just for financial gain.
Yeah.
What is the lesson, though? What are you...
Well, so Coco Chanel is an icon. The lesson that I think I would learn, and this is what I'm going to say for us, is that if a big international conflict comes out, what you do is you side on both sides. Maybe you side more with one, maybe you side more with the other, but you side with both of them, and you will always come out on top. And then, because what we're going to do is that, when the big podcast war happens and all the
it's happening.
Yeah, and all the other podcasters are gone, we'll just come back a couple years later and be like, hey, did you know that we invented the podcast? And no one's going to be able to claim that we didn't. No one's going to be able to like dispute that fact. So you can just write your own history.
That's very true. That was going to be my takeaway of just lie.
Just lie about whatever it is that you claim to be.
Because guys, you are listening to the most popular podcast in the world right now. We are being listened to by 2/3 of the world's population.
Everyone is listening. And do you know how you know? Because you're listening. So therefore everyone's
listening.
Everyone's listening. So that's it. And if anyone
We're sat here on Scrooge McDuck piles of money.
Yeah, because we get someone else to pay for our living expenses.
See, that's the goal. That's what we need to do.
That's what we want to do.
Everything else is awful, but I go, that's smart. She basically made herself a chihuahua.
She really did. Like, she really did live in the lap of luxury on someone else's dime. And I guess the other thing as well is that they also made a hell of a lot of money off of it, but it's like,
I think I get mad at paying my phone bill. Like I see like bills that I've actually for things that I should pay for, I get like irked by. Seeing that come out of my finances from that woman.
And you're also paying her. You're already paying her 2% anyway. Maybe that's the takeaway is that like get someone who will pay for everything.
Yeah. Oh, well, thank you so much. This is absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, I know. It's been really fun to research because it's like I say, I didn't know that much about Coco Chanel. And maybe I don't feel like I should have, maybe my impression beforehand was better of just like,
it makes me want one of the clutches a little bit less.
Yeah, that's fair.
I'm going to walk past like the makeup counter and go,
do I?
But those clicky lipstick cases
they are fun.
Gorgeous.
And also, I love to dance.
Is that your impression of Nicole Kidman?
Yeah, that's my Nicole Kidman. That's how she sounds.
I love to dance.
I'm a dancer. I love to dance. And on that note, I think we'll leave it there.
Oh, well, take the last thing you put on off.
Yeah, take it all off. If it's Chanel, just don't wear any of it. That's my takeaway. Thank you very much for listening. Please feel free to leave us a comment, rate 5 stars on whatever podcast platform you're listening on. We would really appreciate it. And send this to your friends. Maybe if your friend is like, I want to buy a Chanel, you can be like, no, you're a bad person.
But if you already own one, or if you do own one and you want to get rid of them, feel free to send them to us.
Yeah, send them to us. That would be pretty cool.
We can recycle your Chanels.
Yes. Ethically.
Ethically and in style. Drive home safe, everyone. Have a good time.
Thank you very much.